Hey there, namaste, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are tuning in from. Welcome to this very special edition of Empowering Conversation by Empower India, co powered by the Filmsters. So, every year on 24th Jan, we celebrate National Girl Child Day, a day to honor the dreams, voices, and potential of girls everywhere. For too long, we have heard phrases like girls can't do this, girls can't do that. But today, we are here to change the narrative. Empower India is a nonprofit working on grassroots level, empowering women and girls through life skills education. Sanitation initiatives and community development are few of it. With over 30 years of impact, it strives to create opportunities for girls to lead confident, independent lives and building brighter futures. We believe girls they can lead, they can break stereotype, and they can achieve anything they want. And this is not just about fighting for equality, but for equity, giving girls the opportunity and support they deserve to thrive in a world that hasn't always been fair. This conversation today is about celebrating their strength and inspiring action for a brighter future, more equitable future. My name is Disha, Communications Manager at empowHER India, and also the moderator for the day. And we are joined by three beautiful and amazing women, or should I say girls, joining us today for the conversation. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
So, I'll start by introducing Jasreen, or we also call her Noor. Jasreen Noor Mayal Khanna is a celebrated author and journalist. Jasreen's work combines storytelling and purpose. She's spent over a decade contributing to prestigious platforms like Vogue, BBC, and more. She is a passionate educator shaping young minds as a visiting faculty at St. Xavier's College in Mumbai. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jasreen or Noor, for joining in
Very
for the
happy to be here.
conversation.
Thank you.
We also have Mini Mathur. Mini Mathur is an iconic TV host, former MTV VJ, and actress, best known for her vibrant presence on Indian Idol. Outspoken on social media, she is a passionate advocate for women's health and is currently certifying as a women's health coach to inspire and empower women everywhere. Thank you so much, Mini, for joining in.
Thank you so much for having me, Disha. Delighted to be here.
Perfect. And also, last but not the least, we have Anamara Baig, our very own CEO. Anamara is a change maker in the social sector with over 15 years of experience in program implementation and community empowerment. As the CEO of empowerHER India, she leads incredible initiatives like Setu, which equips rural adolescent girls with essential life skills, and also oversees programs in WASH and financial literacy. Her passion for creating opportunities and empowering adolescents is at the heart of everything she does. Together, we are sharing how life skills can help girls from turning you can't into watch me, I can. So let's celebrate the power of girls. Thank you so much, all three of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jasreen, and thank you, Minnie, for being here. I'm sure we're going to have a great conversation.
Looking forward.
Uh,
Pleasure. It's
uh,
all ours.
So to start, I am throwing this question to all three of you. Anyone can start with this. Now think back to a moment when someone said it to you that you can't do that because you're a girl or a woman. How did that feel, and what did you do to prove the other person wrong? Any
Jasreen,
one
why
of
don't
you?
you take it? Start.
Okay, I'll start. I actually grew up with fairly liberal parents. My father, especially, was quite forward thinking. And at 18, I'd applied to go to the US to study. And this was 2005 when I was applying. And it was not even in our liberal kind of social circles of Bombay, it was not so heard of for girls to go. It was still the norm to send the boys and get the girls married. And after I kind of completed my admissions and was all set to go, there were comments like my mom's friend told her, "You're spoiling her by sending her abroad and giving her so much freedom." Or my mom's aunt told her, "Why are you spending all this money on education? Just get her married instead and then let her live her life abroad as a married lady." Um, and I was very keen to go. So I turned that can't into can, and I went and I did my undergrad, I did my postgrad, I pursued a career in journalism. Uh, and I think this was more from an opportunities perspective. And I think earlier in life, it is the opportunities that get affected by can't and can. Later in life, I felt it was more cultural. Like when you get into your phase of marriage and kids, I felt like there it was girls can't say no to marriage or girls can't say no to kids. And I chose to have kids rather late in my life. And there were a lot of people even in my own family who were uncomfortable with the choice I was making. Eventually, I do have a son, but I chose to have him when I was ready. And I didn't see a lot of people feeling comfortable. Even in social settings at parties, when I'd go, people would try and convince me to have a kid. And I thought it was silly because it's such a big responsibility. You should do it when you really want to do it. So as a mother, I still valiantly support the choice for women to be child free if they choose to be, because it is a choice in the end.
Wow, that's so inspiring. If I can go next, um, I know that you want us to sort of fill the blanks with what I could. It's not a simple statement, but allow me to give you a little bit of a background because this is something that I haven't actually. I suddenly realized as I was thinking when Noor was talking that I haven't spoken about this to anyone as yet. Everybody only wants the fun, glamorous stories. But like Noor, I've also been, brought up in a very liberal, forward thinking sort of family, and I have one elder brother. But despite the fact that I'm extremely well loved, I think the love language for the generation above us was to not pressurize the girls to do anything. And while the focus was all on my brother saying, "Tum engineering karoge, tum ye karoge, you have to strive for these colleges," and I was the younger one, and every time I would say, "And what should I do? And what do you think I should?" Those big family roundtable discussions where the brother was being, his future was laid out, and every time I would quip up and say, "But what do you think I should?" They'd be like, "Tumhe jo marzi mein hai na, tum wo karo." And that used to make me feel like my future was not important enough to be discussed on this table, on the dining table. And yes, it was a sense of I can do whatever, but I also really longed for the kind of adult guidance that was being accorded to my brother, and somehow that just felt a lot more adult. And everything from there on that I did was to prove that I will stand shoulder to shoulder with the achievements of my brother. And the reason they were telling me, like, I remember my dad used to, at that time, a course had come out of NIIT. NIIT had just opened and it used to give these 1 year software courses for girls where immediately after doing this course, you would get a 5,000 rupee a month job. I'm talking about 1989, 1990. And my father used to say, "Why don't you do the NIIT course straight? I'm like, "You have to be more ambitious about me." So I have egged them on to say, "Dream bigger for me. Why are you dreaming less for me?" As opposed to my brother. And that's been my constant grouse, that they couldn't get it because they thought they were giving me freedom. But I wanted to be pushed. And so I pushed myself. And I went and enrolled myself at LSR, which is one of India's premier colleges for English literature. After which I did an MBA. Then I jumped into advertising. Then there was another point came in where an opportunity to be the host of a very very big game show. India's first game show, in fact, came my way. And my father was like, "Nahi, nahi, 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 अच्छे घर की लड़की है. You can't do it. You can't do this and still have your character intact." I mean, Zeenat Aman and Parveen Babi had basically, he thought that I'll be strumming a guitar and doing dum maro dum somewhere. And it was quite crazy those times. So anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that I propelled myself without waiting to be propelled by the family, and jumped from one arena to the other. But I was my own propeller. And every time they said, "Nahi, nahi, aap tumko kya karne ki zarurat hai," I made it my own zarurat. So there.
How did you convince him? I'm curious to hear the end of the story.
Oh, you want to? I just thought I'd hogged up all the minutes.
We want to
I
know
don't
because
know.
Noor.
only the girls want to know how to convince their parents to let them do stuff.
So it was very DDLJ Shah Rukh Khan like, that either I will go with your permission to all around the countryside to shoot this show and keep my character intact, and do it. And I promise you that if you let me do this, and I want to do this with your consent and not be those bhagodas who go to Bombay and find their own careers. I will do it, and I will promise you that I will not make you regret this. And I don't know what was it about. And my mother, who was the one who supported it, and she is the one who took me to shoot my first professional pictures. And she said, no, you must do it. You already got your degrees, you're a postgraduate. I don't think we should be telling you what to do with your life. And that's funny because my father was the decision maker, but she said, I'm going to go to every shoot with her if I have to, but please let her do this. And she pushed me, and I mean, she went along with me, and she put her weight behind me, and I actually did. And I'm very, very happy that now my father is a bigger fan of what I do
Right.
than my mom. So I've kind of, lived up to his expectations, I think.
How lovely. What a lovely story it is.
Yeah, that's incredible. And in fact, many, this story you just, well, this is an experience of yours. You've actually touched upon a more systemic issue that even I find when I go into villages, right? When you talk about propelling yourself, while your family may have been kind of thinking that they're giving you the freedom and the space to explore what you wanted somebody to be your champion and say you can do it. There are so many girls in rural India who are actually equally capable, and they want somebody to give them equal amount of guidance, equal amount of opportunity, and trust in them that they can do it, so that they have the opportunities and the means to propel them forward, and they just don't get it. And that is partly what the problem is, right? They are most girls, and most adolescent girls and women are an afterthought in so many ways in a given household. And I mean, if you see, like, a household is a microcosm of a larger a system, or a nation, so it's very representative. And that's exactly what happens. It's you can see that what happens in a household gets magnified at a national level, and that's exactly what we need to change.
And that's also why I feel change is so hard with our own families, because we can all espouse these things. Everyone can talk
Yeah,
about the culture, everyone can talk about opportunities. But when it comes to your daughter going into the film line, that's when you're like, oh,
Exactly.
that's when you're like, I'm not so sure
Mhm.
about this. I feel like it's that household, it's that familial change that is the hardest, but that actually
Yeah,
moves us forward.
Yeah, which is what
absolutely.
even like followed for me after I was allowed, and everyone, I'm sure my father took on a lot of flack from the larger family saying, Ye kya kar diya? You're letting your daughter go into the television world. But he kind of then stood his ground because and even post that, when I decided to, Mathurs are very like very community driven. So most Mathurs marrying Mathurs, okay? And no one in generations in my family had ever married outside the caste. But when I wanted to marry Kabir, I think this whole him watching me take wings and not let him down just sort of put faith in him to allow me to take this decision by myself and support it. So I think it's very important to also, and I think it will change, Anam, from our generation onwards, where we will empower our daughters to not just be and do what they want, but also give them the same amount of push and have the, I think it's important for families to have expectations of their daughters. Just being
Yeah,
let off the hook is, you're just
yeah.
leaving them to their own devices. You have to empower them and support them and be the wind beneath their wings, and push them. Be ambitious for your daughters as well as your sons.
And I always say, not
Absolutely.
just with daughters, for kids, you have high expectations, they rise to meet them. So it's very important to have high expectations of your kids, push them a little bit and let them, do
Yeah.
a little more than they're capable of.
And it's amazing, like how these moments and experiences actually shape us and, the decisions that we are going to take in the future. So I think these are kind of the fire from within that, make us do what we are doing today.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that is that. So I also want to know, apart from this, education is also known as one of the like important tools for change, right? So how has it played a role in breaking your barriers? Say, for example, did you have a teacher or a lesson or a subject that has changed your perspective on what's possible for you? If Anamara, if you'd like to start on that.
Um, I feel like in India, there was unfortunately less impact on. I didn't have any specific teacher who really kind of just changed my mindset or had that impact which stayed with me. But I think what really stayed with me is when I went for grad school, and I saw it was a big lesson because I saw the difference, right? So what I mean by that is, at university when I was studying in Brussels, I finished my undergrad and then went. So for a significant part of my education, I was in India, and um, I was accustomed to a certain way of learning, but I realized that, and I think this is not gender based, this is largely what happens to all students who study in India. When I went to when I went to Europe, and I'm in a classroom setting, I realized that that distance that we have in India, where we put teachers at a pedestal, and there is a certain beyond a certain point we cannot question their authority or what they're saying, was completely sort of turned on its head over there. And I felt completely lost, and I didn't feel confident enough to be able to challenge what the teacher might have been saying if I had a different opinion. And that was very stark to me. It hit me like a brick that we are so conditioned to be more. There was so much of reverence with our teachers in India, and I think that was the greatest lesson I learned, in within academics, that it's okay to question authority. It is okay to say that no, this is not okay, I think differently. And that comes with agency, which I feel there is a huge lack in our system, in our education system, which essentially it's like all pervasive. And that's partly the reason why even girls and young boys, when they grow up, they lack agency, particularly girls. And there was a version of that I saw in myself as well. And there was a lot I needed to unlearn um, to be able to rise up to that level and say that, I know what I'm talking about, and even if it's wrong, you can correct me, but I should have the confidence to speak up and say it in a room. So that's something which I would say was very impactful for me, actually.
Anam, now that you're saying this, I just want to add to it. I think our education system, despite the fact that we have a sort of a system where rote learning is encouraged and you're a good student if you sort of learn this and regurgitate it out in exams, and that's what your score, and that's what is your measure for, or your metric for how good a student you are. I think we, at all levels and grassroots levels and above, we need to emulate what, though I'm not a big fan of the board, the IB system, where you can, I mean, I'm a big fan of the academic system that India has, but we need to sensitize the teachers that you are individuals outside the education metrics as well. So, I don't know if it's, maybe it's just balki khal, but what I'm trying to say is that you have to let independent personalities rise. We're not all bricks in the wall. So the moment agency starts there, where you're allowed to be, to show your personality, be an individual in school,
Yeah,
which is what
yeah,
the newer boards like IB and all encourage, and that's what they work. That everyone has their own, everyone's different DNA,
yeah,
and we should be allowed to,
yeah,
showcase that. But I think that is a bit of a deterrent where where we're talking about our
definitely.
own Indian girls, that you need to be
Yeah,
able
and in
to.
fact, that's very much what Empower Her is teaching rural girls,
Hmm.
where we are specifically taking sessions where we are talking about sense of self, self-worth,
Yes.
self-esteem. We are talking about how do you look at your own, assess your own strengths and weaknesses, and how do you kind of leverage that. That's the Because those things are never mentioned to particularly girls. From boys, still they have that kind of support and that reinforcement that, oh, you're a boy, you can do this, you can do that. And but girls, especially in rural India, they do not have that at all. So they need to be able to someone to tell them that they are worth something, and you can do what you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that we're doing with the girls. Yeah. Jasreen, if you'd like to add something.
Look, I went from after class 12. So up until class 12, it was the Indian system. Then I went to a liberal arts curriculum, like a proper liberal arts curriculum. And I mean, I lived in the boonies. I lived in like, there were more sheep than people there because I needed financial aid. So the college that I chose eventually was the one that gave me the most financial aid. It was a brilliant school, but it was very, very tough. I did my undergrad at Franklin Marshall College. I did my postgrad at NYU. And Franklin Marshall College, which is relatively unknown, was way, way tougher than NYU actually. But I would say, it was like taking LSD. It was like going to the center of the universe. Your brain exploded and you came back. Like even in my first semester, the kind of literature I was reading, because this was America, anything goes. My professor could say "fuck" in class. He had a tattoo on his wrist that said "truth." So for me, I mean, I changed as a person. Of course, there was the academic growth, but then my values changed, my personality changed. Suddenly, doing good and being inclusive became important to me, which was never important to me before I went. Suddenly, things like I can also be an author, I can also write, which I don't know, in my head, I always thought of authors as male. I don't even know why. But then having this young man who I really also crushed on him secretly. But for him to say he believes in my writing, that made such a huge difference and gave me confidence to be like, yes, I will pursue this, not just writing articles, but also writing books. So yeah, for me, it was insane, which is why I chose to continue my studies and do a postgraduate. Uh, yeah. Also, I want to say, as part of my postgraduate degree, they let you teach because otherwise, who is going to hire you to study, write novels? Um, and then I came back and I started teaching at Xavier's. And I was an adjunct professor at NYU, but Xavier's Arts College in Mumbai, they have never censored me. Even though my teaching methods are those of what I learned at NYU, so they are quite non-Indian. And the kind of literature I ask my students to read is also not traditional. But I've never been censored. They've always given me freedom to teach the way I like. So I have to say there are some colleges who are quite open to adopting. They're also autonomous. They're not under Mumbai University, but we're getting there. There are now liberal arts schools in India.
And I think कि हम जितना जानेंगे उतना ही हम कर पाएंगे. So like Anamara said, like what we teach to the girls, I would like to share this one instance. Ki, we were working in Karjat with a set of girls during our community intervention last year. So this village they have no public transport. So no buses, these girls and all the women have to walk like 4 to 5 kilometers one way to get to the main city, and then from the main city they have to take a public transport from there and go to colleges, come back, and then walk back to their villages. So during our intervention, they decided to file with the government that we want a bus. So after 86 years or so, 85 years or so, they got that application. They filed that for the bus, and the ST bus जो यहाँ पे होता है महाराष्ट्र में, they told कि sure, we'll give you a bus, we'll make that happen. But after a couple of days, couple of weeks, I went there, and one of the girls, I said, "What are the updates? What's going on?" She said, "Ki hum aur kar." So these are the girls who are doing and taking the initiative, not people from Panchayat. They have support, but the girls are actually going and taking the initiative. So
Disha, can I
udhar jaane
make
ke baad,
sorry, sir, continue.
it's okay. You wanted to add something?
After you finish the story.
Okay. So when I asked this girl कि क्या है, क्या चल रहा है, she said कि अभी तक तो कुछ नहीं है. Like it has been 86 years. To change the whole scenario is the very big thing. तो उसने एक शब्द मुझे बोला, अभी तक वो मेरे साथ है वैसे. शी सेड कि बस आए या ना आए उससे हमें फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, चलना तो हमें आज भी है, कल भी है, 10 दिन बाद भी है, 10 साल बाद भी है। बट एक चीज जो चेंज हुआ है कि हम अपने लिए खड़े हो सकते हैं एज गर्ल्स, कि हम खड़े होके मांग सकते हैं कि हमें ये चाहिए, वो मिले या ना मिले उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। बट दैट चेंज इज आई गेस
In the
वेरी
mind.
इंपॉर्टेंट। जब तक हम जाके ये कॉन्वर्जेशन नहीं करते, आई डोंट थिंक द चेंज इज गोइंग टू बी देयर। सो दैट इज वन थिंग दैट जस्ट केम टू माई माइंड, इज आई शुड रियली add this to it.
Wow, what
I
a
think, yeah.
story.
Amazing.
I just want to add, I'm sorry I interrupted you in the middle because I was so excited. I thought of something. I was like, I have to share it before I forget it. But it was, many years ago, I made a documentary with my husband. It was called, for the Ministry of External Affairs, it was called Mechanics of Change. And that was a documentary about this small village in Rajasthan called Banda, where women had to walk daily about 20 to 25 kilometers to get water from a well. And even though the government had put wells in different villages, say from in a gap of 2 years, 2 kilometers, they would always break down, and then there would be nobody to repair them. And the guys who had to come and repair them would say, "Aaj nahi, kal nahi," because it was not उनके ऊपर तो कुछ नहीं आ रहा था, like आज नहीं, कल नहीं, 1 महीने बाद, 2 महीने बाद. But every single day, every woman in that village had to pile up 4 ghadas on top and walk 22 kilometers in the scorching sun and get back water for her family. The women of Banda decided they had enough. They trained themselves. They went and they fought to train themselves to be hand pump mechanics. This bunch of women in that, and they learned. They said, we're not going to depend on the team that comes and says aaj nahi kal nahi. We are going to learn how to repair them. They trained themselves. They learned. I'm getting goosebumps as I speak,
So
and
am I.
they became the mechanics who would repair all the hand pumps which went bad. And suddenly, no one had to walk. Everyone had hand pumps because they empowered themselves to kind of repair their own thing. So they became mechanics of their own change. So I suddenly remembered that this
They're such
was,
wholesome stories. They're making me feel so good inside.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
lovely. I feel the documentary is still somewhere in it was for
yeah.
staff. The Ministry of
Jasreen,
External
you'll
Affairs had.
be surprised at the number of stories you'll find when you travel across, like what
Yeah.
Minnie is saying of, doing something on your own, and then the women being like, forget it, they don't know. I mean, if we depend on the men, then ho gaya hamara kaam. So let's
Exactly.
just figure it out on our own. Plenty, you'll find plenty of stories
Wow.
like that. Incredible, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
And I guess yes, they are part of life skills that we teach to the adolescents. So like
yeah.
communication, taking decision for their own, taking such initiatives, standing up for themselves. These are part of the life skills. So I would also like to know from all three of you, like, have you ever, thought ki, oh, this is something that I should have learned in past, या फिर ये अगर हमें सिखाया जाता, तो it would have made a
A
whole lot
huge
of
difference.
difference, yeah,
सिखाया जाता
today.
during our adolescence तो फिर
Yeah.
हाँ yeah
So, so say for example, if I come from a family that's very open-minded, but still हमारे घर पे या फिर मेरी मम्मी जब मुझे periods आए थे, तो उस टाइम पे किसी ने मम्मी मुझे अभी भी याद है, mother was like, क्या कुछ हो रहा है, take this is a pad. She slowly opened it and she said, this is how you do it. But it was very, very,
hush
किसी
hush
ने कुछ ऐसे एकदम hush hush. So when I started growing, because there was nobody to tell me what to do, so internet was my best friend. So I learned about it a lot. So वहां से सीखने के बाद is one of the things that I thought कि अगर ये मुझे सिखाया होता तो काफी अच्छा होता. But I have made it a point that all the girls in my family, be my cousins, my younger sisters, they are having the right information. Before even they got the periods, I have taken like a group में बिठा के मैंने उनको बताया, this is what you have to do. This is pad, this is menstrual cup, this is how you use a pad. Doesn't matter if you're getting it today or tomorrow or what, but you have to get the right information. And I guess अगर ये सिखाया होता तो it would have been easier journey for me to know about, myself, my health, or my mental well-being. So is there something that you guys feel कि ये अगर सिखाया होता in terms of life skills so काफी easy होता?
I can
So,
go first.
yeah,
Yeah,
please.
go ahead, Mini.
No,
Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, so for me, I think a big one is financial literacy. I think that should be introduced in schools. Perhaps now, in the more well-to-do schools, perhaps they are covering that. I'm not sure, but in government schools, there is absolutely zero mention of money, of how do you manage money, and just how do you demystify a bank. I remember the first uh, the slip that I had ever written down to deposit slip was probably when I was 16 or 17 years old. That's very embarrassing, but that is the truth, because and that too, my father pushed me and said, it's time now that you know how to do this stuff, right? So there is no exposure, and in the lower income communities, as you know, money is always largely in the hands of men. So for girls, it's even more uncommon for them to understand money at a young age. And what happens is that um, when they don't understand money, they are always going to be at a disadvantage, right? Because you're not going to be able to manage money, etc. So I think it is so critical. And I didn't have that, but today, thankfully, at least the girls that we work with are learning basics of financial literacy. We talk about needs versus wants. Not everything is a it's you have to sort of differentiate between what is a need and what is a want, and sort of just demystifying, what is a credit card, what is a debit card, and how do you use it, when do you use it, or just simple stuff like uh, vehicles of saving, what are the different things you can do in a bank. So I just feel like that's so critical as a life skills for all children, adolescents, boys, girls to know.
Yeah.
Agreed, 100%.
I think my take on this is very simple. I think girls को ना कुछ ज़्यादा ही life skills सिखा दिए. Okay, the demarcation is very simple. The girls are, generally as a gender, they learn faster, more, they can multitask. So all the life skills, आग को कैसे लाते हैं फू फू करके, गाय को चारा डालना, मिल्क निकालना, I'm talking about rural, okay, खाना कैसे बनाते हैं, इसको साफ कैसे करते हैं, बर्तन कैसे धोते हैं, कपड़े कैसे धोते हैं. Every girl knows all these things, like she was born with this. I'm sorry, ऐसे life skills सबके पास होने चाहिए. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't think these are the kind of life skills we need to prep our girls with. Exactly what
Not
Aman
at
said.
all.
It is, if you go even today in the fanciest of parties, you will see the women gravitate towards each other. Any party over 40 years old, they'll see women gravitate together and men gravitate together, and the conversation will be so contrasting. The women will be discussing kids and home and fashion and this and that, and the men will be discussing stocks and shares and politics. And why? I've always hated it. I've always hated this sort of. So what we need to teach our women is to be able to sit in the middle of this whole patriarchal conversation and be able to converse intelligently. Education is empowerment, and I'm telling you, you will make the best decisions in your life if you have financial independence, for which we need to teach them only financial literacy, nothing else. Not just how to write a bank slip, of course, that comes with the territory, but the fact that their money is their money, and they need to, even if they are subsidizing the family, the agency over their own earning and how to utilize it, how to make it grow, how to keep it as their own nest eggs. Because when you're not financially independent, you make the worst decisions because you're basing it on economic, dependence from the breadwinner. So for me, it's always been, my daughter is 16, and sometimes, in jest, she comes and tells me, my wedding, and I want it like I'm like, please do not even talk about your wedding before you can talk about your bank balance. Okay, your I want to hear more ki bhai मैं इतना at this age I will be a 30 under 30 this that. As a think about yourself and your bank balance, everything else will fall into place, everything else will come in time. Like Noor said, have babies when you're ready. You don't have to have them because it's a milestone, because you're somebody is forcing you to have it as a milestone. Your success cannot be measured in that. It has to be financial independence and everything else that leads to being financially independent. Which, and if you really look at it, education, everything is, all the roads are leading to just having your own nest egg. And that is, women should just strive for that one thing. And we have to empower the girls to know कि आपके पैसे सबके पैसे नहीं है, आपके पैसे आपके पैसे हैं. Did it make sense? Or did I just
Yeah,
wrap up
absolutely.
the rant?
No,
And
no. It's absolutely true. Yeah. Jasreen?
I mean, you guys stole the words out of my mouth because I was also going to say financial literacy. And as you were talking, many thoughts were happening in my head. But yeah, if it was personally, yes, I think I also wished I had known more about financial literacy, more about saving. Actually, my husband is the one who got me majorly into saving. So now when I look back, I'm like, oh, thank God for him. This thing that I start saving out of my mere writer's salary. I think another thing for me that I wish I'd been taught was maybe how to communicate calmly, because I think I get very fired up on these issues and I get very angry. And my brother calls me the Andolan Army, me and my friends. And you know, of course, it's fun and just he loves who I am. He's a feminist just as I am. But I think what happens is I sometimes maybe end up alienating men. I end up alienating boys, and I feel like that's where maybe if I learned a way to communicate the same thing calmly, we want to bring men into this conversation. And we don't want to alienate them. And I'm raising a son right now. So there's also the flip side of what are we teaching them? So we're teaching the girls, like you said, every girl now has every life skill. Now we're saying unko financial literacy bhi sikha do. But what are we teaching the boys? So I think that's the other side of this question, which was not asked, but I think we need to think about what the boys are learning.
Absolutely.
And also, अब जब हमने financial literacy की बात ही कर ली है, so if our audiences have missed an update from empower India, so we have recently collaborated. We have in partnership with HDFC Securities for a financial literacy program, and we'll be teaching financial literacy in Raigad to adolescents, both girls and boys, for the next couple of months.
superb, much needed.
So I think जो गैप हम भरने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं वो इसी तरह से छोटे छोटे हमारे इनिशिएटिव से आई फील कि भर जाएगा एक दिन जरूर. So yeah, and to take the conversation ahead, finally, अपने काफी experiences share की है आप तीनों ने, but what advice would you give to parents, teachers, or mentors so that they can help adolescents, especially girls, to navigate the societal pressures? You know, I think Minnie आपने already starting में इसके बारे में थोड़ा advice दिया था for the parents, but Noor and Anamara, if you would like to add on that.
I mean, I think the main thing I would say is believe in young women, so that you can give them wings to fly. Also, maybe be open to learn from them, because it's not just women, but women and men. Like I have young nieces and nephews who are now actually early 20s or in their teens. And for me, they are my connection to the future. So also be open to learning from them so that you can expand your own worldview and accommodate what they need, because it may be something very strange or something you haven't heard of before or something you can't wrap your head around. So yeah, I would say learn from them, believe in them. And one piece of advice I would have to whichever young girls are listening, not that this has been asked, so it's unsolicited advice, but I think a lot of this begins with self-respect. So I think once you have respect for yourself, that is the base. And from there, you'll grow in the right direction. And anyone who comes in your way and that comes in the way of these opportunities and growth, once they see you respect yourself, eventually they will never be able to stand.
Yeah.
Very true. Anamara?
I mean, there are plenty of studies that suggest that the life outcomes, positive life outcomes of girls is directly connected to the number of years they study and are in school. So I just feel, and on the flip side, when their girls' education is cut short, the development of girls is cut short right there, because especially in the rural context, they become a liability when they're not going to school. So they typically will get married early, and therefore they will have children early, and that cycle just gets perpetuated, and that cycle of vulnerability never stops. And I always say vulnerable women will give birth to vulnerable children. So I feel like we need to do something about that. So in my mind, I think education is going to be the key for that to stop. So, and what happens, and this is my sort of urge to parents and appeal to parents really, I see a huge difference where, there are financial compulsions why in lower income communities girls stop school. But unfortunately, that's because if there is a boy and a girl in a household, they will give the priority to the education of a boy, and they will, if there are financial constraints, and the girl's education will be stopped. Right? It's possible that the girl is probably far more capable, far more accomplished. Sorry, I lost you for. It's possible that
No,
actually the girl is a better student. Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Yep, Anam, we can hear you.
Hello?
I guess she
Can you
has
hear
a
me?
network.
No, but
Yes,
she made
yes, we can hear
very,
you.
very valid points. Anam, are you back?
Okay, I think my internet suddenly got patchy. Disha, why don't you take it over, because I don't want to. If you can't hear me,
No,
then I
that's
don't
fine. We
want
can hear
to.
you
No,
now.
no, we
We
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
You can continue. Oh,
Ah,
oh. I
afraid.
guess every live session should have a live a little
100%.
technical
This
glitch.
is a life skill
Can't
we
we?
should be teaching others, girls also.
Yeah.
How to communicate better, how to make it, even tech. I think is also something that we just assign to. Now, of course, it's all going to change with the way the digital
Yeah.
revolution is. Men and women will have, girls and boys will have to learn tech ed. But there was a point of time where guys used to do all the tech stuff and so yeah, this is good. Anam,
Yeah.
you're back.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I was like, we almost made it without a technical glitch. Like we were almost there. Anyhow, no, so just to wrap up my thought, what I was saying was that generally the priority is given to a boy's education than a girl's, in households where there are financial constraints, even if the girl is far more capable, because they see them being boys as long-term support for the family, probably. It's misguided, but that's how it is. So I feel I would urge parents to stop thinking about that and really invest in girls education, because that completely changes the outcomes of the lives of the girls. So that would be my yeah my appeal. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Minnie, would you like to add something? I know you spoke about this, but if you would like
Yeah,
to,
no, I think I've,
add
I've
on that.
pretty much said everything I wanted to at one go. But yeah, I mean, I think all parents of girls need to know that you cannot prioritize their wedding. I think this whole, thought, especially in rural India, that लड़की पराए घर जाएगी और लड़का घर पे रह के हमारी बुढ़ापे का सहारा बनेगा. I think that narrative, it has shifted for urban India, but because I see more girls looking after their parents, intention, but sheer proximity, and women are not just getting married and moving away to their husbands' homes in different places. So I think in rural India also, if we can sort of teach families that getting them married, which is also considerable financial pressure on the families, is not priority, and the money that you would really invest in giving her in-laws or getting her married is invested in empowering her, then she will be more, of a strength than something to be dealt with and financial, drains. So that is something that maybe if through subtle communication, we can pass on that thing. And then what Noor said, teach your boys enough life skills so that they can take the pressure off girls. And it's time that girls, just put, it's my favorite quote, I think Shonda Rhimes said it, that you can never leave footprints if you're always walking tiptoe, so I think girls need
Hmm.
to just
Very powerful. Yeah.
जमा के आगे चलो and leave some of the work, the life skills to the boys.
That's very nicely summed up. All right. So before we wrap up our conversation, I'd like to, end our conversation with a bang, and we'll have a short, very short rapid fire round. So I'll ask you one question, and you guys have to answer it in one word or like one sentence. So ready?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let's go. So, what's one word you'd use to describe a girl who's breaking barriers?
Badass.
Go girl.
Oh, superstar, rock star.
Okay, great. Perfect. And what's the most important life skills every girl should master? I guess we have spoken about this, but if you could say one word or something, one life skill every girl should master.
Money.
Education.
Yeah. I mean, again, financial literacy, money, money, money. Yeah.
Where's the
Great.
money?
And okay, perfect. And last question on this very short rapid fire is if you could dedicate one song to every girl, what would it be?
Oh God.
बिजली की रानी
Huh.
मैं हूँ आई
One
कहती है
song.
मुझको हवा हवाई.
Oh yeah.
There is a
Amazing.
girly song that I really love. It's from Chak De and it's called Badal Pe Paun Hai. And I find that very uplifting, all the lyrics. And every time I have something that I'm doing with girls, I always play that. So for me, it should be,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Nice. Sorry, this I'll have to disappoint. Nothing's coming to my mind, but yeah.
So thank you so much. I guess so. We have completed this very short rapid fire round in a short couple of seconds. But thank you so much, all three
Thank
of
you.
you, for sharing your experiences and stories. I hope, like any girl who's going to listen to this conversation, at least gets inspired to take the action for a better future. So thank you so much, all three
Disha,
of
thank
you,
you for
beautiful
having us.
ladies.
Anamara,
Having
thank you
us.
for having
It's
us.
been such
And
wonderful
Thank you.
things,
such
guys.
Thank you very much.
amazing work empower is doing, and please continue and may you prosper and make the girls prosper. Really, thank you for having us. Disha, you were amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Both Anamara
Thank you.
and you guys are doing amazing work, and it's very inspiring.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
And
much. And thank you
to
for
end,
coming on and kind of talking to us. It was really incredible. Thank you so much.
yes, it was. And I would just like to end it by saying, like, I'd say that the future is bright and bold, and girls are absolutely unstoppable for everything that they aspire to do, like girls everywhere. And to the audiences who are listening to us, if you'd like to learn more about Empower India and our initiatives, you can visit us on our website, which is www.empoherindia.org, or you can just send us a DM. The social media handles are in the description box below. Thank you so much. A very happy National Education and Girl Child Day. It's also the Education Day tomorrow. So, Education and Girl Child Day to all the girls and adolescents everywhere. Thank you so much. Bye bye.